Prime Minister Carney described U.S. trade negotiations as in an intense phase, while U.S. President Donald Trump on Friday described them this way.
We haven't really had a lot of luck with Canada. I think Canada could be one where they'll just pay tariffs.
Well, now companies here are racing to ensure that they are compliant with the CUSMA agreement, which would exempt them from any new tariffs or current ones. So joining us this morning with more is Steve Bozicevich. He is the CEO and a customs broker. He has a firm that helps importers and exporters to navigate these regulations and exemptions. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, thank you.
So proving compliance with CUSMA involves obtaining what's known as this certificate of origin. So what is required to get one of those, and what should companies be watching out for?
So level one is making sure that your goods are compliant. So if your products are sourced, the product that you're exporting to the United States, if it's sourced entirely from goods made in North America, grown, manufactured, produced, you're generally good to go. There are carve-outs. You know, we know that there's steel, aluminum, cars. The administration is also looking at softwood lumber and copper as well. But generally speaking, most other products entirely sourced from North America, good to go.
You brought a certificate of origin. This is what it looks like. Can I hold it up?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so is this something that companies find online?
So we have a tool on our website. Am I allowed to pun that?
Yes?
All right.
You just did live, so it's too late to take it back now.
AACB.com. There's a free CUSMA certificate creator on the website.
All right.
It takes less than 5 minutes. We've gone from doing a handful to well over 100 a day. And in there, you'll type in all your information, your supplier details, and you self-certify. And you go through it to make sure all your documentation is in order. U.S. Customs can go back 5 years and reassess you for duties and taxes if they think that something that you've done now or in the past is not compliant. So it's really important to create the certificate, understand the rules of origin, and make sure that in the next 5 years you have all your documentation in order, your receipts, your supplier declarations, document your supply chain, and you should be good to go for the rest of the period.
You know, this is something when you think of like a big corporation, for example, they have people who can manage this, but I'm thinking about small businesses who are suddenly having to check all of this and get it done. What kind of uptick have you seen at your business in terms of companies who are trying to obtain this certificate to avoid tariffs?
Yeah, I'd say probably 100-fold increase in the last 6 months.
Wow.
You know, over the years, it's been pretty easy, pretty lax rules. Duty-free status has been pretty easy to obtain into the U.S. as part of their economic drivers. Now that's changed, obviously, and now reclassification, making sure that their products are understood, classified, and certificates generated. And everybody's busy making sure their documentation is in order as well.
Right.
So that's a huge uptick.
How hard is that to do, though, when it seems like the amount of tariffs and the deadlines are changing weekly?
It's hard to keep up with, but generally speaking, you know, the March, April, May were pretty dynamic. It's settled down a little bit now. We've gotten some firm deadlines, August 1st being one of them. But the real key is just making sure that you understand your supply chain. Small businesses tend to have an easier time because it's you know, less people, fewer processes. Large companies definitely, you know, they've hired compliance experts and they've been busy for the last few months, especially.
We know that, I mean, anything's possible in these negotiations, and both sides of the border are being very tight-lipped on what the sticking points are, what we are going to give up. But we do know that CUSMA is being renegotiated in July of 2026, so a year from now. Is it possible that they just get rid of the exemptions altogether and tariffs, everybody is tariff exposed?
Hopefully it's unlikely. I think what we've learned over the last 6 months is whether we call it protectionism or rebalancing global trade, everything is subject to change. And where companies used to be able to plan 4 or 5 years and make longer term investments, now they're working on year to year, maybe even month to month. And I think what's really important is we take a bit of a cue from technology companies and we move to a more nimble or agile type of environment.
Interesting.
You learn a little bit more about where you can source goods from. You start planning out your Canadian producing or maybe American manufacturing a little bit more cleanly and in advance, and stop being reactionary and start being proactive. And those are the companies that'll do well, even in a production and manufacturing environment.
A quick question about the deadline. So that's the deadline for a trade agreement is August the 1st. Does it affect people applying for the certificate of origin?
Well, I think that the U.S. government has indicated that some Canadian companies are overstating the amount of value that's being added to their Canadian exports. So is it being imported from China, processed and shipped, or is it being grown in Canada, processed and shipped kind of thing? So they've indicated that, and they've signaled that they're going to increase scrutiny on audits and assessments. Now, what that means is I don't think any major changes will happen on August 1st or in the next few months. Both countries are very dependent on CUSMA status and USMCA status. But what it does indicate is if you're on that fringe, if you're maybe taking a little bit of advantage of these rules of origin, you should probably rethink your supply chain, make sure your documentation is in order so that you don't get stung. And no one really knows the percentage of goods. We say about 75 to 85% of Canadian exports right now are being claimed under CUSMA. And we're definitely seeing that in our business. And I guess the real question is going to be, if they start increasing scrutiny, what does that percentage potentially go down to?
You know, one of the things about this trade war means that we get to have conversations with people that we wouldn't have had before. Steve, you are one of them, and we will be talking again, I imagine. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.
If you like that video, make sure to subscribe to the Your Morning YouTube feed, where you can find all kinds of new content posted every weekday morning.